So, Michelle, you're going to do it. You bought a ticket.
Oh, yeah.
So we talked about it last week, about Game of Thrones. And I still can't believe you haven't watched season 4. But you're actually going to watch, what, episodes 1 through 8, like in the next couple weeks.
In the next, 10 days.
Yeah. And then I bought my tickets, too, for January 29th, Thursday night at 10 p.m. IMAX of episodes 9 and 10. Seriously, you're going to be the only person in there that has never seen those 2 episodes.
Well, I got to say, I'm kind of excited that I'm going to see Game of Thrones. I'm going to see these 2 episodes on the big screen.
That's crazy.
I
almost envy you that you get to watch them for the first time on the big screen. There's no way I would have waited that long. But that's pretty awesome. Yeah, the tickets went on sale Friday. And I think it's only playing at 300 screens, I read. Yeah. And luckily, we got one here.
I thought I heard that they were trying to add some more.
Were they? I know they delayed it a week. Yeah. It was going to be a week earlier. And the funny thing is I read, I was like, the reason that we're delaying it is because of fan demand.
I saw that too.
Really?
I'm like,
wow.
Are you saying that they're demanding you delay it a week? Because otherwise, why would fan demand cause you to delay? That's so weird.
That is really weird.
Obviously, they meant that fan demand was so high they needed to add more theaters.
Yeah. It's still funny sounding.
I can totally see you trying to say, wait, what?
Wait, what?
The fans are saying we don't want to see it now. We want to see it a week later.
I need more time. People like Michelle here who haven't watched season 4 yet.
I need more, and you know what? It benefits me completely because there's no way between now and if they'd done it on Thursday night, I would have been able to knock that out between my job and everything. Oh, yeah. No way. No possible way. But now I'm like, hey, I'm off on Friday. I can knock that out in one day.
And I'm excited. As you can see in my walls here, I like buying posters. And they're giving out some pretty good posters. I think they're the first 300 people at that opening night. But if you don't go looking for them, because one of them has a major spoiler involved, which you won't see, I think, until... Oh, yeah, you won't see till episode 10.
Okay.
So... Don't go looking for what the posters look like.
I'm excited. I'm so excited.
What I'm bummed is, if you look at the posters, apparently one is just at the AMC theaters, and the other is at all the other theaters. And I really want the other one, but we're going to an AMC.
Right.
Oh well, it still looks cool.
It happens.
But yeah,
can you see those posters online? I haven't seen them.
Yeah, I saw them online today. I actually think I saw them on comingsoon.net. I think had them up. But I'm sure they're on a bunch of sites. I forget the artist who did them. I would describe one of them, but yeah, Michelle Jones.
I'm glad that you're keeping it spoiler free for me, though.
Oh yeah,
thank you.
I'm curious. I'm curious to watch them with you. I mean, we'll be in the theater. It's not like we can chat about it at the time, but I'm still.
Well, curious. I'm sure you'll see me. You'll hear and see me gasp every now and then. Go, oh, what?
I mean, I think you probably realize there's no red wedding epicness going on here. There's nothing crazy. Yeah. But it's going to be cool. I'm excited.
That's going to be fun.
I didn't realize till today the tickets had already gone on sale, so I immediately bought tickets. I'm pumped.
Yeah, I did almost as soon as you told me. And I was like, oh, well, once I had to think about it. I was like, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to try to cram this in? And I was like, that could be really fun to watch those 2 episodes up on the screen. And then I was like, yeah, okay, challenge accepted. I'm in. Nice. I bought my ticket.
I honestly was surprised when you said that back. I'm like, oh, wow, she's actually going to do it. This is awesome.
So I was like, challenge accepted. I will do it.
Nice.
That is awesome.
Knock that out.
Yeah, it's going to be badass.
And then I'll be in misery like everybody else until, April?
Yeah, it seems later. I thought last time it was the very end of March, March 31st or something. I don't remember, but now it's mid-April.
So I'm going to have 2 full months.
You don't have as long to wait as the rest of us have had to wait.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
That's my only, again, I've said it a million times, Game of Thrones goes by so fast. Yeah. Those 10 episodes fly by.
No, yeah. Oh, they do.
And then you have 10 months, 9.5, 10 months to sit around and go, my God. And that's why every year I say, oh, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to read the books. Do I read the books? No.
You do say that every year.
I say that every year.
We have a friend, though, that reads them, and he says that even though he's seen everything, as he reads them, he still gets all excited and nervous and, shocked, and he still is very interested in the books, even though he knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. If you did ever decide, which probably is the next day to never, but if you did, you'd still enjoy them.
And the cool thing is unless something crazy happens, even those book readers are eventually going to get to a point where they're not going to know.
Right.
I mean, again, I cannot imagine suddenly R.R. Martin just starts, spitting out books left and right. But yeah, it sounds like they're going to go ahead of him under his kind of direction. But
that makes sense.
Should be cool. All right, Let's get started. It is Sunday, January 18th, 2015. Hello and welcome everybody to Flicker Effect, a podcast where each week we chat about the latest happenings in film, TV, and pop culture. This is episode number 119. I'm David Lott. Joining me this week is Bobby Jackson.
Hey, you can see me now.
You can, depending. And also Michelle Curry. How's it going, Michelle?
Hey guys, how's it going?
So yeah, we are beta testing, if you will, video for not kind of the first time. We flirted with video for a little while there. We were doing live shows for a little while on Google Hangouts on air. We stopped that. And now we are doing video for, I guess you could call it the YouTube edition of the podcast. It won't be a video podcast that you could get on iTunes. It'll still just be audio pretty much everywhere else. But on our YouTube page, if all goes well, again, that's why I say it's beta. Hey, it's a test. Maybe this won't get posted on YouTube. Hopefully it will. If it will, we'll make sure to let everybody know somehow on Facebook and Twitter. But if you really feel the need to see us, you can check us out on YouTube.
Our bright, shining, smiling faces.
Yes.
There for everyone to see.
Now I have to worry about how I look while I record this. I can't wear PJs anymore.
But you still have the glass there right by your side, right?
The glass?
Still drinking up you're still drinking up a little something.
It's off camera.
Okay.
I only take sips when you're talking about it so people can't see me drinking. So what's up, guys? How's it going?
Hey.
I sadly didn't make it to a movie theater this week. But hey, I caught up on Agent Carter.
Hey, that's actually good.
That's 3 shows I'm caught up on.
That's impressive for you.
It is. It is impressive for me. And I'll say right off the bat, I'm digging the show.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Whoa, what? I wasn't expecting. I didn't know how you would feel after you got caught up because of how you talked about it from the initial scene or watching of it. You were kind of like, oh, it's okay. And I knew you had only still just seen that first part of the episode or that first episode. So you hadn't still seen that second episode, which I thought was even stronger than the first. So I was like, oh, I wonder how he'll adjust his opinion, if at all, once he sees the second episode and then the third episode.
Yeah, so. Well, I mean, this is a perfect example, I think. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the pilot's good. But as with any show, a pilot is funky. Like it's just really not a great look at how a show's really going to be. And I thought episodes 2 and 3 were a lot stronger. And now you kind of, when you get like 2 or 3 episodes into a show, you start to really get a feel of how is this show really going to be? And I dig it. I mean, I think that first time I spoke to you, I admitted that, I was watching it, but I was really distracted. My kid was running around all over the place and I was kind of doing other things. But I rewatched the first episode from the beginning and then I watched 2 and 3 and I like the show. It's cool. I mean, even when I first heard that, they're doing a show with Agent Carter and it's, obviously going to be in the past. And I was like, I don't know. Am I really going to be interested in this? But I really like it.
Yeah. I mean, I think with any show and their pilots, it's just pilots are hard because they're trying to figure out how much they want to cram in as far as back information you need to have and where they want to start giving you a feeler for where it's going to go to. And so trying to decide, do we cram it all in or do we just give you a tasting? Like, they're tricky. Pilots are weird. And I mean, with any show, I always give a 3-episode trial. And I'm like, if by the 3rd episode you've not locked me in, I'm out. I drop it like it's hot.
3 episodes is good.
Yeah, I think so. And I think by the 3rd episode, if I haven't been caught by something, and I walked away.
Yeah, I mean, sure, there's going to be some shows where you watch the pilot and you can just tell this is totally not a show for me.
But if it's kind of on the edge, I'll give it the 3-episode trial, see how it goes, and yeah. But I like this one. I like Agent Carter.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, she's sassy.
It's good.
I one of the shows that I was watching that we talked about last week got picked up for a full season already, and it's only shown 2 episodes, which is Empire.
Oh, and
They were saying how the second week improved on the first week. So I don't know if the good word of mouth happened and people start watching it from the second episode, or they went back and watched the first and then said, okay, I'm going to jump on board. And so they caught the second. But it did really well, and they already picked it up for another season. So that's pretty incredible.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's getting good reviews. It's actually getting quite great reviews. So, I mean, it's probably going to do pretty good, I think.
And The Flash and Arrow come back next week?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Finally. The other two shows I watched that I've caught up on.
It's like we're getting our TV back now. Everything's starting to slowly trickle in.
Yeah. So, Bobby, I'm really curious. You saw American Sniper. American Sniper went wide release this past weekend, and it did really damn well in the box office. We'll talk about that later. I cannot believe how much money it made. So, yeah, man, I'm curious. What did you think of the movie?
It was good. I liked it. I enjoyed it a lot because of just the nature of having this American hero and them telling his story. And I thought Bradley Cooper did a wonderful job in portraying Chris Kyle. And he was just had that spirit about him where he made you feel like all American. He's like, yeah, I do this to serve my country, and I don't want to go home knowing that there's other people behind that I could help possibly save. And it's just so patriotic to the 10th degree, that this guy is just, willing to sacrifice his own family basically to be able to do what he does well. And that's being out there on the front lines. And from that standpoint, the story was really good. And like I said, I really enjoyed Bradley Cooper in it. However, I would say that the one thing that I kind of fault the movie for is the use of flashbacks. Because for me, every time I've talked about this before on the show, where with flashbacks, they're to me a tricky thing, because I always wonder whenever there's a biopic and someone is doing a reminisce or showing them from the past, when does the director decide to choose how he's going to show that narrative? Because when sometimes they'll do it in a story where you just see that kid from that perspective, and then he grows up to be the man that he becomes, and you see it sort of told in a linear fashion. And then you have the ones where they do the flashbacks. And to me, that's a hard thing to pull off correctly, because I always like it when there's some sort of synergy between what's going on in the present and then what they're flashing back to. And sometimes you don't get that in a movie. Sometimes they just flash back and you don't really, there's no real reason or rhyme to why they're going back to that period in time. And then the amount of time they spend there, it can be so fleeting that you're kind of like, well, why did they even bother to show that anyway? So to me, there were some of those instances in this movie as well, to where I thought that I was sort of questioning the director Clint Eastwood's vision in terms of, well, we're in this really super high tense moment, and you want to sort of see that play out, but then you flash back to something, and it's not necessarily something that is integral to what is happening in the present. So basically what you just did was pull me out of the scene and the tension and just sort of deflated that in order to show me something that doesn't really have the significance that is present in his current point in time and situation. And then you go back to it. And so then when you go back to it, I don't still have the same heightened sense of tension that was there right before you went to a flashback. So I guess just that, and visually, it just was sort of a standard look to it. There was nothing sort of dynamic about the shots per se. I mean, there were a couple good scenes, especially when there was like a sandstorm and there was just, you kind of feel like, man, like, how could you survive in that situation? You feel the tension in that scene. But aside from that, there's not too really many, I guess, aesthetic points where it stands out in any sort of way. And I thought like it was trying to be, to a certain degree, two different films. Like on one side, it was trying to be something that was like a personal story and telling this personal side of his life and trying to service that into the story to show you how he was growing up and how he became who he is. And then there was this other side of it that felt like it was trying to be a little bit of like, did you ever see Enemy at the Gates with Who was in that? Joseph Fiennes and
wasn't Jude Law?
Jude Law, yeah, I think it was Jude Law. There was like these two snipers that had this sort of cat and mouse thing, so it was kind of like that as well. But I thought it didn't service either greatly. They did. Clint Eastwood did a good enough job doing both, but not a great enough job doing both. So overall, I still enjoyed it, and I thought it was really good, and I suggest for people to go see it. But like, I don't know that I would have risen it to the point of greatness that it would be into contention for a lot of the different categories it's at for the nominations for the Oscars. But
it sounds like we have kind of similar thoughts on it. I think so. I mean, because I enjoyed it too, and I've even seen it twice because I watched it a second time with someone who hadn't seen it, and I still sat and pretty much watched the whole thing and enjoyed watching it. And I mean, I still have my problems with it, and I agree. Kind of, I don't know if you're talking about like say Best Picture in particular. You know, we'll talk about the Oscar nominations a little bit, but it got a Best Picture nomination, which I'm not surprised by at all, but I don't agree that it should get nominated for that. I mean, I just don't think it's that good.
No.
And yeah, it's got a lot of the same themes you see in a lot of films like this. You know, he has a hard time being back at home. Had a lot of the same themes that felt like The Hurt Locker, where it's like really his life is back at war and not so much at home with his family. You know, but yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm shocked how well it did at the box office. Grossed $90 million this weekend. Its first weekend. Wow. And this is a movie that's had already been in theaters. I mean, very limited, I think. But
right, limited release.
But still, I mean, for something that had already been in limited release that went wide, it did that well. I would not have guessed that at all.
Never.
Wow.
And in fact, I would have guessed that maybe Selma would have done better because
considering the weekend it is.
Yeah, Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, you would think that that movie would get a nice little bump off of that. So I wasn't expecting American Sniper to do that well. I was thinking maybe it'd get like 40-50 million, but geez, this is like insane.
Yeah, I mean they've both been out the same amount of time, about 4 weeks. And Selma is way behind. I mean, it was at number 5 this weekend with just over 8 million. To go through the top 5 real quick, Wedding Ringer was number 2 at 21 million. Paddington was number 3 at just over 19 million, and Taken 3 was at number 4 with 14. And Black Cat, that's way down there. I almost forgot about it because I didn't even see it. Black Cat, a new release this weekend, which I feel like was marketed a decent amount. I saw a few commercials for it. It's not like people didn't know about it. But apparently people didn't care.
Yeah.
Because, it's at number 10 with $4 million. That's pretty bad.
You know why I didn't really want to see it? Okay, so initially I was kind of gung-ho for it because it was Michael Mann. Exactly, just the whole premise of it seemed interesting enough. But then when I started seeing the previews and you see Chris Hemsworth, and he's like beating down fools and he's got guns and stuff. I was like, well, this is more like an action movie. It's not like, I mean, he's already got all these good assets going for himself. Now he's this super smart computer hacker and he can kick ass and everything. It's like completely stretching the limits in terms of believability for me. So I just really couldn't even sort of glam onto it after that point, to where it just didn't feel any kind of realistic to me with that much going on. And he's supposed to be this computer guy. I don't know. Maybe if you see it, it maybe makes more sense. Maybe there's more to the character, but just on the surface of it, it just didn't seem a believable enough premise that he would be this guy. So I just sort of was like zoned out on it.
Yeah, I was the same with you. I mean, I still wanted to see it, maybe until now, but like looking around, I'm looking at the Rotten Tomatoes page right now. Mainly because of Michael Mann. I really like his stuff. That was my main draw to seeing it. Nothing about the film itself was like particularly that interesting. Kind of interesting to me, but I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes right now. It's at a 32%. They've counted 111 reviews. I'll read their critics' consensus. It's thematically timely but dramatically inert. Black Cat strands Chris Hemsworth and a muddled misfire from director Michael Mann. That's too bad. Well, it didn't do well. So. But moving on. Michelle, you saw Paddington this weekend.
I did.
Which I was shocked. I talked to you before you saw it, was wondering what you were going to see. And when you said Paddington, like, really? Okay. I wouldn't have guessed that, but all right.
I'm going to go see a kids movie.
Cool.
Were you a Paddington Bear fan growing up?
Yeah. My parents read it to me when I was a kid, and so it's part of my childhood. I liked Paddington. Like a little later, somebody did a couple of like kind of like stop action shows on it, and so I used to watch that when I was younger. And I don't know, I have a soft spot for Paddington Bear. Mm-hmm. But nice. Yeah, so Paddington was, for a kids movie, surprisingly really good. Because I mean everybody sees kids movies and here and there, but and some of them can be really, really bad. It was actually really good. It was done really well. I think even for just being a CGI bear, it synced well with the actors. I have to give the actors the credit because, like, it really, because they're talking to nothing, and so it just was really good. It was really good storytelling and storyline, and just the way it was all kind of done. It had, for me, it kind of had the heart that the books did. The books were done by Michael Bond, and it kept the. Paddington is basically, he's a little older than a child, but because he's a bear, he has the educational mind of a child. So he's still trying to feel out the world. And so he has the curiosity of a kid. And he's constantly getting into trouble. And he's constantly just trying to figure things out. And it kept that. It kept the warmth and the heart and the humor and the love kind of all together. There's surprisingly a couple of really good little adult jokes. I was like, hey, and there were adults that were kind of all laughing, and the kids were kind of like, what? We're like, what's going on? You'll learn later.
Nice.
So that was kind of fun. It was fun to be in an audience with a bunch of kids and parents. I have to say that was kind of nice too. But the other thing that was kind of neat was the main actor who plays Mr. Brown. He is Hugh Bonneville, and so if you watched Downton Abbey, or if you saw the travesty that was Monuments Men, you'll recognize him. So they put Mr. Brown in really interesting situations. So as you're watching it, all I'm sitting here thinking is like, the Earl of Grantham is now cross-dressed as a cleaner lady. And it's like, you just sit there and kind of like, that's not what I thought was going to happen. But it was entertaining on different levels at points if you kind of know that actor from other things. So that was kind of cool. And then Nicole Kidman's in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, Nicole Kidman. She plays the bad guy, actually, which...
Actually, I guess I do remember that.
Yeah.
But sorry, go on.
But I mean, no, I don't even know how many roles I've seen Nicole Kidman be the bad guy, but it was kind of cool to watch her be the bad guy. And I was like, wow, this is really entertaining. And it was fun. She uses her beauty charms to get what she wants. So that was I was like, wow, you go, girl. But, it was interesting. I looked up on Rotten Tomatoes, and my movie that I picked did really well, apparently. 98%.
Yeah. 98%, 108 reviews.
Yeah.
Because I was scrolling through Movie News today, and I don't even usually read reviews, especially if I'm going to see something. I usually tend to see it first. And, I have no intention of seeing this. So I saw a review, and it was like the title was extremely positive. And I'm like, what the all right, I'll read this. So, and I was like, wow, I don't even remember who it was or what website it was, sadly. But I was like, man, this is impressive. And 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. This is crazy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and I was reading some of the reviews, and they were saying basically kind of what I was thinking. It's heartwarming and still funny, and it's a kids movie at the end of the day. So I mean, there's silly scenarios, but they're not silly scenarios that are so ridiculously overstretched that you're like, oh yeah, that can never happen. There's some things that are kind of like, yeah, that's definitely, it's because he's a CGI bear, but it's fun. Like, it was fun. Like, Leonard Maltin actually, he literally, I'm going to quote him. So Leonard Maltin said, "It's a good-hearted film, as witty and clever as it is charming." And he took the words out of my mouth.
I actually didn't know he was still around.
I know, right?
Yeah,
I've heard from Leonard Maltin in forever.
Leonard Maltin, come on.
Seriously, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Well, it was awesome. Good. Good job,
cool.
Weinstein Brothers.
That movie had a little trouble at first, too, because who was it that was supposed to be the voice and he dropped out?
It was Hugh... Oh, dang it, just off the top of my head. Not Hugh Grant.
I thought it was Colin
Firth. That's right. Yeah. It was Colin Firth. And they filmed a bunch of stuff with him, and he at some point just said, you know what, I just don't feel like I am Mr. Brown. I'm not the correct person for this.
Yeah.
So, and you know what? Hugh Bonneville did a really good job. I was really impressed. It was really
That's
good.
cool.
I was looking up the director. I didn't know who he was. Paul King.
I don't think really has done very much. He's done some TV shows. I think this is his big breakout.
It looks like it. Yeah. I mean, it looks like it must be a film, Bunny in the Bowl. I don't know if it's a kid's film or something from 2009.
Never heard of it.
But yeah, it looks like mostly television stuff.
Yeah, I think there was a strong guiding hand from the producers. There's a lot of producers that have done some major movies. A couple of producers did Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. And then the main producer is, what's his name? David Heyman. He was the guy that produced most of the Potter films. He did Sorcerer's Stone. He did both Deathly Hallows and a couple more in between. And between him and I think the Weinstein brothers, Weinstein. Yeah, well,
Weinstein.
I mean, they're pretty. I have a feeling that since this was the director's first major movie, he probably got pretty heavily handed with the production guys. But that's okay. It turned out really good. You know, I mean,
it worked.
Those are some good producers.
Apparently.
You can't go wrong with those.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, Paddington.
If you got kids, if you got a family,
I've got a kid.
go.
I think my kid is still like. It would have to be fully animated. I think I still even like TV. You try to put something on that's like really kids related, but it's like live action. He's still not really into it.
If I had to guess, I would say you're looking at about 5 or 6 years old and up. But I mean, it was good.
Yeah, nice. All right, well, moving on to a couple trailers. We got essentially a new Avengers trailer this week. Really a TV spot. It's been thrown around as like a second trailer, but I think it clocked in at like 1 minute 40 seconds. Which, it's long for a TV spot, but short for a trailer. I don't know what you guys thought about it. It was fine, but it wasn't really any different than the first, in my opinion. I mean, we definitely get some glimpses at some things. A woman or two in it that we hadn't seen before, and of course has everyone speculating who is this. And, there's definitely new shots in it. But overall, it kind of had the same feel as that first trailer we saw. So I know, Bobby, apparently have you still not watched it?
Nope, haven't seen it. I have not watched the trailer.
What?
No, because I figure it's so close to May. I mean, it's not that close, but it's close enough to where I don't want to see any more based on what I've already seen, because I already know I'm going to see it. And all I wanted to see initially was just a taste of what it looked like. And I got that. So now I'm willing to wait to see the rest of it. So I only know what was in the trailer based on descriptions and a few pictures here and there.
I agree with you. I kind of felt the same way. I was kind of like, should I watch this? Because I know I'm definitely going to see it already. Like, I don't need more information, really.
But you watched it.
But I still watched it because I do. But, I mean, and I feel the same way you did.
It was fine, but it wasn't.
Fine.
I'm glad I didn't sit and watch that game, because honestly, I didn't care about that game, so I didn't watch the game for it.
No.
And
I did what everybody else did, and I waited for it online.
I am bitter about college football, so I did not watch the game. So it's fine. Not really. I don't really consider it a second trailer.
No.
And for me, not being that familiar with Marvel characters that we haven't seen in the MCU yet, I can't really join in on this conversation of like, oh, who is this chick and who is this chick? I really don't know. I've seen a lot of names thrown around at this point, and I don't know who they are. So cool.
I saw a trailer today when I was watching Paddington. So of course it was a kid's trailer, but I saw the first. I don't know if I'm sure everybody else has already seen this, but it was the first big trailer for Minions.
Oh yeah,
and I hadn't seen it. Like, I haven't gone on my way to watch it.
I don't know if you saw the same trailer, but it's cute.
It is cute. Yeah. I was like, that's amazing.
That's the one where it's
Kevin's going to be the star.
Is it the one that's showing like the whole like timeline of
the timeline? Yeah,
it's pretty hilarious.
It was like with Napoleon,
and Dracula,
and Dracula. I was like, "Aw, Minions! They're gonna be, And then it's like starring Kevin, and I was like, they made Kevin the headlining Minion guy.
It's pretty awesome.
It's like, that's awesome.
That looks good.
It does look really cute.
That comes out soon, like in the spring sometime, I think.
Does it? I didn't even pay attention to it. I was so enamored by the full-length Minion trailer. I was like, wow. I was like, wow, that's cute.
Oh, I was totally wrong. It comes out in July. So.
Oh, months from now.
Just ignore me.
Summertime.
July 10th.
It seems like they've been talking about it forever, though.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, they've been really teasing that one.
I really thought that was sooner than that.
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
Meh.
So another trailer. I don't know if probably a lot of people have seen this for a film called Unfriended, a horror film. I was curious to talk to you guys about. What do you guys think of this? Michelle?
Oh.
Yeah, you first.
She's like, oh, I wasn't expecting you to go to me first.
I mean, briefly, it's a film that it's kind of a found footage thing, but over Skype.
Yeah.
Seems like it's almost, for the most part, completely over a Skype connection, like you're looking at Skype videos.
Yeah, it looks like they give you a little bit of backstory through people's like random videos they took with their cell phones, and then the full part of the movie looks like it's going to be taking place on Skype through group Skype. So I guess a girl has a video about her posted, and then everybody started calling her horrible names online, like they do in the online bullying thing, and then she kills herself. And then I guess a year later, this weird phenomenon happens on Skype. It looks interesting. I don't know if I'm going to pay to see it in theater, but it looks kind of interesting. It's probably an on-demand one for me, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting, but it makes me really happy that when I was in high school, there wasn't like a lot of internet. Like the internet was around, but it definitely was not used the way it's used today. Like not every person had a phone, camera, video in their hands at all times, and I'm so happy.
I mean, to go off on a side topic, I
was thinking that the whole time. I was like,
oh,
good gracious. I was like, I'm so happy I had to deal with this when I was in high school.
I agree. I cannot imagine going through high school with the social, internet experience that everyone has now. It would be just completely different. But anyway, I'll just say real quick. Yeah, I mean, this format, even though this is really found footage, but it's still kind of that same genre. It just really works with horror. And it looks interesting. I would watch it. I think maybe I agree with you. I don't know if I'd pay to see it in a theater, but it does look like the kind of movie that might be on demand. And if it were, I'd probably rent it and check it out. What'd you think of it, Bobby?
I think it looks really interesting just because of the aesthetic and the visuals. Just another little twist on the found footage genre. So I would check it out. Like you said, I don't know if I would go to the theater unless maybe I hear at least decent reviews for it. If it gets decent reviews, I'll check it out in the theater. If it gets bad reviews, then I'll just definitely wait for it to come out on video on demand or whatever.
Yeah. Looks like it's coming to theaters on April 17th. I don't know if it'll get an on-demand release or not, but it might.
Yeah. I mean, it's just thinking the other thing I was thinking was, wow, how horrible high school is nowadays. But I was thinking, the found footage things really come quite a distance from where it's kind of sort of originated with Blair Witch, which was something from my high school time. And so I was like, wow. I was like, it's interesting to see how we've developed our found footage from a handheld actual video camera to then you go to Paranormal Activity and it's the security cameras in the house, or they actually set them up. Did they? I forget. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it's like it all slowly progresses, and then we have VHS and all this other kind. I don't know. It's interesting to see the progression that this has taken over the course of a few years. I won't say a number now because now I feel like I'm aging myself. But it's okay.
It's interesting to see people that use it well. I mean, people, there are filmmakers who have nailed it and do really great found footage stuff. The funny thing is one filmmaker who I think really nailed it with a genre that wasn't horror, End of Watch with David Ayer. The funny thing is he kind of breaks the rules of it to me a lot in that film, but I forgive him for all of it because the film is still so good. Mm-hmm. But there are definitely times in it where the found footage part of it really makes no sense. Where the camera ends up being at times, it's like, wait, what?
Right.
if you're overthinking it. But the film is so good that I'm like, whatever. I don't care that the camera shouldn't have been inside the house and it should have been outside or whatever,
Right.
But yeah, some filmmakers nail it, some not so much.
Just Trink did a good job too.
Yeah, with Chronicle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, Unfriended. It looks interesting. April 17th. Moving on. A lot of news to talk about. Mm-hmm. The TCA Winter Tour has been going on. Television Critics Association, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So lots of TV news. But it's awards season. And first of all, last weekend was the Golden Globes. And we recorded the day before. We kind of did some predictions here and there. The Golden Globes happened Sunday night. First of all, I'll be honest, I haven't finished the whole broadcast because I was not able to watch it live at all. I started watching a DVR and I saw about half of it. I'm curious to know just generally, what did you guys think of the show? I'm just going to say right off the bat, I wasn't thrilled with it. Didn't really think it was that entertaining. I love Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. I thought they were okay. From the stuff I saw, a lot of their jokes were just kind of, I mean, like in the opening monologue, or if you will, the George Clooney joke was really good. And other than that, it was like, oh, all right, whatever. And just for the most part, I was just kind of bored by what I saw on the show. Probably a big reason why I didn't really make a point to finish watching it. I don't know. What do you guys think of it, Michelle? You're much more the awards show connoisseur.
Yeah. Well, I was with my girlfriend who watches it with me every year, and we were not impressed at all. Like, not that we always are like, oh, it was so amazing, but I feel like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler went out on a really sad note. Like, that was too bad. That was really not good for their last one. Like, wow, it just was not good. Their monologue started out strong, and then they went to Bill Cosby, which they could have just left alone. Like, that's just a topic that just could have been left alone. Yeah. And it was funny, but it was a painful funny. Like, I was like, we were kind of cringing, kind of going, I don't want to laugh, but I am, but I really shouldn't be laughing. And then they went into, the whole Sony hack thing. And then they went to North Korea. And then they stayed on North Korea jokes for the remainder of the show. And it was just stupid and overkill. And it just wasn't good. They weren't even good jokes. They were it was just not good. Yeah. It was really bad. And then there's the actual awards. And that was just even worse.
Yeah. Well, the awards, I mean, as I've said a million times on here, the awards, whatever.
Yeah. I had my worst year ever.
Oh, and your predictions?
Oh, worst year ever.
The Golden Globes are just
worst.
I find them just every year be ridiculous when it comes to the stuff that they choose. And anyway, Bobby, did you watch?
Yeah, I actually watched it with one eye to it and one eye on sort of on my computer, kind of doing doing multitasking.
Yeah,
and it's weird. I kind of enjoyed it.
Oh, really?
It's so weird because I don't know if it's because I was half paying attention or what, but I hadn't seen the other years that they hosted. I think I only sort of got the cliff notes. I read about it or heard clips of it later on. Really? So this was the first one I actually got to see sort of full on. And for me, a lot of the jokes were funny enough that I laughed. And like you said, there was definitely some ones that were in poor taste, and I can definitely see how the whole North Korea ones were just sort of like, it was a little much. But overall, I guess beyond that, and when it just comes to the awards themselves, I kind of get interested more so in who wins in the sense of what they're going to say when they get on the podium. Because for some people, it's a big deal. Like for us, it's just sort of whatever. But for them, it's a big deal. So it's kind of interesting to hear what they have to say. Yeah. Like the girl from Jane the Virgin that won. And I was completely surprised that she won. But, she was really gracious and grateful for the award and everything. So I think I like hearing the speeches. And then I like what most people would probably find mundane and boring. I like seeing the crowd shots and seeing who's talking to who before they go to commercial or like because you just never know who knows who in Hollywood or how they talk. And sometimes you read stories that certain people have made deals just at that award show. Like there was some story I was reading where someone got the idea for something in the bathroom, in the men's bathroom. They approached like Brian Grazer to do some show, right. And I forget who it was, but it was like, that's kind of interesting to me, just those little side conversations that they seem to have. And so I like watching it for those little shots, and then just the overall looseness of the show, because it's way more looser than what you get once the Academy Awards roll around, and definitely. It's so more formal. But, I don't take it seriously enough to get upset about it at any sort of point, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, did you guys notice, like, talking about crowd shots, I felt like there was more than a few times where they kept cutting to Frances McDormand.
Yeah. There was a lot of
always had this, like, just bored look on her face.
Yeah.
Like, are they doing that on purpose because she just looks like that the entire show?
I don't know. Yeah, that's weird.
That was weird. Anyway, as for the awards, What the Golden Globes? That's all I'd say.
I thought you might have been happy for a few that
there
won.
were. I mean, that's the funny thing. Of course, the ones where I actually am happy about a winner, then I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. The big one for me was J.K. Simmons won for Best Supporting Actor. I was really happy to see that. Other than that, I wasn't.
There was one more.
Best Screenplay, Birdman won. What else were you thinking of that I would have been happy about?
Fargo.
Oh, yes. I was excited about Fargo, even though I haven't finished that whole season. But yeah, that was really cool. I did not expect that. We all were like, oh, True Detective. Done.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't even think that was a possibility, even though I knew a lot of people love Fargo, and it was, definitely in there. But True Detective, come on.
And Billy Bob Thornton, he won.
And Billy Bob Thornton won, too. That was pretty impressive. You look at Best Animated Film, even though I had mentioned on here last week that, oh, wow, How to Train Your Dragon 2 probably has a chance. Yeah. But we were all like, oh, Lego Movie. And, no, not so much.
Yeah.
How to Train Your Dragon 2 won.
Which is awesome. And I haven't seen the second one, and I love the first one. I really need to watch the second one.
Seen it?
No,
so
I really need to.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I haven't seen it either. I'm sure it's good. But... I just still would have expected Lego Movie to win.
Yeah.
But yeah, then there's other categories. Like, I mean, you guys, sure, you probably already know this from me, that Best Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy, The Grand Budapest Hotel, I think is insane. You know how I feel about that film. I think it's good, but I just don't think it's that good. And to win over Birdman, I think is nutty.
I was shocked. And I mean, I really liked Grand Budapest, but I don't like, I even admit, like, I don't think Grand Budapest is worthy of Best Picture.
No.
Like, I was shocked and was like, what?
I think that's a film.
Like, I was like, really?
I feel like that's a film that is benefiting from the fact that it came out so long ago. I feel like people are romanticizing it a bit.
Maybe.
That's what I mean. That's just what I think.
I only saw it. Wes Anderson.
I only saw it more recently, and yeah, it's good Wes Anderson, but it's not. I mean, Moonrise Kingdom, I don't think got as many accolades as this film is getting, and I think that's a much better movie. And I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks that if this movie had come out closer to award season, it wouldn't be getting the attention it's getting now.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just trying to speculate because I don't get it. I just don't think it's that good.
I think it was just because it was Wes Anderson.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
but yeah, Best Motion Picture Drama went to Boyhood. Not shocked by that at all.
Disappointed in that, honestly, and I liked Boyhood, but disappointed in that it was like. And again, I think they're just making it so it's like it took 12 years. It was 12 years of figuring out the financials, and it was 12 years of watching these kids and these adults grow and age. And it's a cool concept. It was not that amazing. I mean, it was a good movie. I enjoyed it, but it was not that amazing of a movie. Like, really? Like,
I would imagine you agree, Bobby, because I don't even think it made your top 10, did it?
It didn't make my top 10, but I did call it to win this awards just because I knew that's how that they would look at it, is based on how long it took to make it.
Right.
And I enjoyed the movie, and I enjoyed the story that it was telling, because it set out to make a movie based on a whole length of time about this kid and the trials and tribulations he goes through from this age to an adult. And I thought it did it very well, and it really felt like you were just sort of just watching someone's home videos almost to a certain extent, because it just felt that realistic in terms of what was going on and the situations that he was going through within his life. It was very relatable. And so because of that, I think it's easy to sort of overlook it in the sense of being an achievement in a certain sort of sense, because it really met its goals of terms of what it was trying to do, and to be able to make it through all those years and still have a cohesive film at the end of the day. So I definitely believe it has its place to be in that category. Whether it should win, it's more subjective, but I definitely would say I could see why it would win. I don't necessarily say that it should have won, but I can see why it would win.
Understood. Just mention few other quick winners. Julianne Moore won for Best Actress in a Motion Picture Drama for Still Alice, which I haven't seen. Eddie Raymond won for The Theory of Everything for drama, which I agree with, even though I wasn't thrilled with the movie. It was a good movie, but he was great in it. I was surprised to see that Amy Adams won for Big Eyes, even though I haven't seen it. I don't feel like I've heard a lot of great stuff about her in it, even though I've heard good things about the film. So that's kind of surprised me. It was nice to see that Michael Keaton won for Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy for Birdman.
Yeah.
I was happy about that, of course. I was bummed that for score that Birdman did not win for score. Antonio Sanchez. Instead, it was The Theory of Everything. Oh, well.
Yeah.
You know, I'd read some article, and it's funny because before I read the article, it was something I had on my mind already, and that they were talking about just how many British actors there seems to be in film that we watch nowadays as opposed to American actors. And I really had first started thinking about it when I was thinking about a lot of the comic book movies and the superheroes, and how a good majority of them are portrayed by British actors.
Yeah.
And then I started to break it down even a little bit further, and I was like, actually, DC seems to employ the most amount of British actors compared to the Marvel side, because a lot of the Marvel characters, they're pretty much American people. Like, you got Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans. Yeah, with the exception of like Thor or Chris Hemsworth being Australian, but right. Everybody else is pretty much American. Yeah. And it's funny how, like, on DC side, they go with all these British actors. And then just in general, a lot of our movies and a lot of the award-nominated movies have a lot of British and English actors in them. So it just seems sort of strange how this year it seemed even more proliferated than past years.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was the Golden Globes. And then later on in the week, we got our nominations for the Oscars. And there's been some drama, and to say the least.
Yeah.
First, before we get to the drama, I'll go ahead and mention just some of the nominees. Of course, I'm not going to go through all of these categories, but I'll go through some of the major ones. We'll start with the big one, Best Motion Picture of the Year. As we know, I don't know how many years it's been now, a few years, that they changed it where there's always a possibility of 10 nominees, but there doesn't have to be. I forget the percentage number it is, but you have to meet a certain percentage of votes to fill the nominations. And I don't think we've ever had 10. I think it's usually been like 9 or 8. And this year it is 8. So our nominees are American Sniper, Birdman, Boyhood, The Grand Budapest Hotel, The Imitation Game, Selma, The Theory of Everything, and Whiplash. Basically, when I saw it, I was just happy to see Whiplash on the list. That's what made me nervous that I wasn't going to get one after the Golden Globes, but thank God it did. I wasn't shocked by any of these nominees. Of course, as I just said, I don't necessarily agree that Grand Budapest deserves to be there. And American Sniper, I'm not shocked by it, but I don't think it deserves to be there either. I haven't seen Foxcatcher. I was surprised to not see that there, even because I've just heard so many good things about it. Is there anything else I'm missing that really belong there? You guys feel like?
Yeah. Go ahead, Michelle.
I was gonna say, I think maybe kind of, and I'm not even like fully hearted on it, but like I could have seen Gone Girl on there.
Yeah.
You know, and Foxcatcher. I was like, really? Wow, that's okay. Sure. I mean, you know, I'm not renting it, but yeah.
Bobby?
Yeah. For me, it was like Foxcatcher and Nightcrawler.
Oh yeah, Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, but
I knew I was forgetting something. Moving on to the acting nominations: performance by an actor in a leading role: Steve Carell, Bradley Cooper, Benedict Cumberbatch, Michael Keaton, and Eddie Redmayne. Actor in a supporting role: Robert Duvall, Ethan Hawke, Edward Norton, Mark Ruffalo, J.K. Simmons. Performance by an actress in a leading role: Marion Cotillard, Felicity Jones, Julianne Moore, Rosamund Pike, and Reese Witherspoon. And then performance by an actress in a supporting role: Patricia Arquette, Laura Dern, Keira Knightley, Emma Stone, and Meryl Streep. Quickly, I'll just mention out of all of those, I'm still just because
Meryl Streep.
No, Patricia Arquette. Because wait, going back to the Golden Globes, she won, didn't she?
She won
Yes, she did.
Which I can't believe that
I
forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
I can't believe she won. And I mean, she's good in the film, but there were times early in the film, and I think I mentioned this in our top 10 show maybe, that her acting and even a lot of the actors in it, I was just like, I wasn't really that impressed with. And
yeah, it took them a while to kind of get comfortable almost in that film. Like it literally took them years to get comfortable in playing their part.
I don't know. Yeah, I just don't really feel like that I wouldn't have nominated her, but that's just me. She's a great actress, but I just didn't think for this. Bobby, you think so? Or
no, I'd be fine with her. I mean, I wouldn't say. Well, let me put it this way: when I look at her performance, and then I look at Meryl Streep in Into the Woods, I think Meryl Streep got in there on name alone on that.
Yeah,
I mean, I can at least see why they would maybe throw Patricia Arquette's name in the ring, but with Meryl Streep, it just seems like, man, if she's in something, she's in something. She gets a nomination.
Yeah. She was good in Into the Woods. I'm not knocking her performance, but I mean, was she Oscar worthy? No.
There had to be another person out there that could have gotten.
There had to be
that spot.
I think a lot of the attention for these acting categories when it comes to the drama that has happened since these nominations has been that they, I think, are all white. Especially considering Selma is in the mix this year and none of those actors got nominated. A lot of people upset about that. I think there was even a hashtag that kind of started trending right after the nominations. I forget what it was. It was like Oscars, something all white.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, all white something.
Yeah, Bobby, I'll ask you.
The resident black man.
Yeah, you're the black guy here. No. Any opinion about it? Does this bother you?
Yeah.
It does?
It does bother me. I mean, how could it not? Honestly, here's how it bothers me, and here's why it wouldn't have bothered me. It wouldn't have bothered me if there was no Selma out this year. Had there just been nothing out there to specifically say, okay, we can see why this performance would get nominated, then if it's all white because there was no great performances out there by anybody of color. So then you can't get mad. But when you have this movie and it's as good as it is, and David Oyelowo is so good in it, it just looks and feels just like a snub. So it's just weird that he wouldn't be there. And even sort of as a long outside shot, I still would have even said even Chadwick Boseman for Get On Up and portraying James Brown. But there was just nothing. And so it just seems so odd to not have that represented there based on a lot of the buzz that it had been picking up recently.
A lot of the speculation I've been hearing is that I guess screeners for Selma went out really late this year. And I don't remember when ballots were due, sometime I think in December. And the things I've been reading are that screeners for Selma went out in mid, just a lot later than all the other screeners out there. So it's possible that unfortunately a lot of voters didn't see it, and maybe that's why. But it still got a Best Picture nomination.
But that's the weird thing about it. Like, how could it get a Best Picture nomination when you said it had to get a certain percentage to get that? But then yet,
the only thing that tells me is if that is true is that it's getting a lot of Best Picture nominations from people who haven't even seen it.
Right. And that's not right either.
And it's not right either, but I wouldn't necessarily be shocked by that. But I think people would be more willing to go, oh man, it just looks like it's Oscar worthy, so I'm going to nominate it for Best Picture, but not necessarily performances. I think people would really not nominate an actor or actress for a performance that they hadn't seen, but a movie, maybe, which I don't think is any more correct, but I just kind of could see that as a possibility.
And I have heard the same thing as you about the votes, the ballots not being out there soon enough for the screeners and everything.
Yeah.
But the weird thing about that is that I think it was the other day that the president of the Academy Awards or whatever, she came out and made a statement saying, we always look for diversity and blah, blah, blah. But she never made that excuse. She never said, well, the reason why Selma didn't get nominated or performances is because the screeners got sent out late. So I don't know if she's just not willing to throw out an excuse or if that's not the reason and they don't have a legitimate reason to give to people.
Yeah,
because she had her chance to say, well, this is why. And it would have been accepted if she probably said it because, you're just going to go with what she says and trust that she's telling the truth.
Right. The other drama when it comes to the nominations, let's go to the Best Animated Feature Film of the year.
Yeah.
Big Hero 6, The Box Trolls, How to Train Your Dragon 2, Song of the Sea, and The Tale of Princess Kaguya.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm saying that right, but anyway. No Lego Movie. No Lego movie was even nominated. Didn't. First of all, it already kind of hurt that it didn't win a Golden Globe.
Yeah.
And it didn't even get a nomination.
It didn't get a nomination, and there's two movies that, like, I'm sure if you ask any human being on the street, they'd be like, the what's a what?
Hey, these
the princess what?
These two animated films would be very, very good. I've never seen them.
Right, but, I mean, like...
but, hey, I completely agree with you. I mean, look, of all these 5 films, I have only seen Big Hero 6. And I liked Big Hero 6 a lot.
Yeah, no, I did, yeah.
Big Hero 6 was a good movie. Was Lego Movie better? Yes.
Yes.
So right there, and I mean, I haven't heard a lot of great things about Box Trolls. I wanted to see it. I didn't.
Yeah.
But most of the stuff I've been hearing has been kind of ho-hum.
Yeah.
You know? So I really have a hard time believing that it's better than Lego Movie.
And I feel bad for Box Trolls because, you know, with stop animation, it's years of work that goes into those movies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with any animated film, yes. But, like, with Box Trolls, I mean, that is a lot of... Good gracious. But
wait, you said you feel bad for them?
Well, I mean, like, I feel bad because I don't think it didn't do that well, like, theater-wise, number-wise. Like, it just didn't do that well. I don't think kids really understand kind of some of the concept. Like, there's adults that were kind of like, what's a what? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know. It got nominated, but the Lego movie, I don't know.
Well, see, then you should almost feel in reverse for the Lego movie because... That made tons of money, and it didn't get a nomination, but it made tons of money.
So now
and
Box Trolls is finally getting the
yeah.
it deserves.
But I wanted Lego Movie to be nominated too.
Like, yeah, of course.
I mean, it's just I don't understand. There's
crazy.
A couple of things that I don't understand with some of the nominations. I don't know what other snubs you were going to talk about, but I've got one.
I'm guessing that Lego Movie, the screener must have got sent out late because how could they not have nominated?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
No one saw it since February.
Yeah, exactly.
They just could not find the time for that. There's no way.
Right. You had some other snubs, Michelle?
There was one that really kind of it just kind of bugged me, and it was the adapted screenplay.
Oh yeah.
Adapted screenplay, American Sniper, The Imitation Game, Inherent Vice, The Theory of Everything, and Whiplash. And well, I'm excited to see Whiplash on there. And the other ones are good too. I'm not knocking on them, but like really, Gone Girl. And again, Gone Girl did not get adapted screenplay like from the novel, and they even changed the ending. Apparently, I haven't even read the book, but like that didn't get a nomination for adapted screenplay. Like that thing was amazing.
Right.
It was a New York Times bestseller novel, and the movie did really, really well. And I mean, wow, that to me that was shocking to me, but maybe not to everybody else in the world. I don't know.
No, I mean I've heard that a lot, and once I saw that, yeah, I agree. I would have thought that would have been a lock, but
yeah.
Maybe not a lock, but at least a nomination.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
It was just like
a lock for a nomination.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Especially, I haven't seen Inherent Vice, but I haven't heard great things about it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
I heard the book was okay, but I mean, like, yeah. I mean, I haven't really heard anything great about the movie, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I just was like, really not Gone Girl, really? Okay, sure, whatever.
I'll delve into a couple tech categories that most people don't give a crap about, but I do.
Oh, I do too, though. Yay! Let's
Achievement in sound editing and achievement in sound mixing. I just thought it was interesting to note a film that has had a lot of attention for its sound, and Interstellar got a nomination in each category. And I'm not even saying I necessarily disagree with that. Yeah, there were times where I couldn't understand some dialogue. And I don't care what anybody says about a particular scene in Interstellar. I mean, some of the stuff I could understand. It wasn't that big a deal that you understood the dialogue, but that scene, I think it was. And to get a mixing nomination, maybe, yeah. Editing, I'm cool with that, but I don't know about a mixing nom.
Well, I mean, Chris Nolan said he said that he purposely did it that way.
No, I get that,
but
I just don't necessarily still even agree. It's his film. I get that, and I still don't agree with him. Just for that one scene. I mean, again, the rest of it, there's other stuff. I know you haven't even seen this, Michelle, yet. Yeah. But there's other scenes.
Wait, you still haven't seen it?
No,
she hasn't seen it.
Man.
I know.
For shame.
There's other scenes where, the sound and the music is crazy loud. You can't really understand stuff. But in those scenes, it's really not that big a deal that you can't understand them. You get the gist of what's happening. Again, there's a particular scene that I don't care what Chris Nolan says, and I know it's his movie. I don't give a crap what you say, Nolan. I wanted to hear what the hell he was saying.
I gotta know.
Yeah, that was a big deal to me.
Inquiring minds have got to know.
Yeah, I mean, I get, it's experimental, but come on, dude. Like, So, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. Bobby, did you have anything you wanted to talk about with the nominations?
No, that's pretty much it.
Pretty much it?
Just the nominations and the snubs around Selma and Lego Movie.
You said you had something else in tech, Michelle, or was that it?
I mean, cinematography, maybe a little bit. I was happy Birdman, because that, and honestly, if Birdman does not win for cinematography, I'm just I'm going to lose my mind. Like, I don't understand how that movie could not do it. And I'm glad that, Grand Budapest, because it is visually, that is a stunning image. I didn't see, is it Ida or Ida? It's all in black and white. And so, those usually tend to do pretty okay whenever we decide that we want to do black and white films, in this day and age.
It's black and white. Must be important.
But, I mean, Mr. Turner, it's a time period piece. And so, I mean, I'm sure they've got a couple of really good sweeping sets from, the British hillsides, hill country or something. I don't know. But, I don't. And Unbroken, I think, was good. But I don't know. I kind of felt like maybe Interstellar should have been on that one. Like, really? Yeah. And I haven't even seen it. Yeah. But from what I can see in just clips and certain things, I'm like, wow, that's, even when they're not in space, like some of the shots of the farm that I can see, I'm like, wow, that's just awesome. Like, that was good vision, But
you don't agree, David?
Good storyboarding.
No, I agree.
But I mean,
sorry, I don't mean to sound like I disagree.
So it's like if we could take Mr. Turner out and put Interstellar in, I'd be like, yeah, that's a serious game right there. But Birdman's still going to win it, so it's okay. It doesn't really matter.
It should. I got to say, Grand Budapest, I mean, for cinematography, I could see that too. We'll give our predictions later on in a month or so, or when are these happening? February 22nd. So, before that show, we'll give some official predictions.
There will be opinions.
We'll all give official predictions. We'll see who wins. Last year,
I'm usually pretty good at this.
Last year, I bought Bobby dinner at Comic-Con.
Oh, yeah?
I did.
Well, okay, so to go back to the Golden Globes really quick. So my friend, I'll just say her name because I've said it so many times. My friend Margot, who's having her 30th birthday today. Whoop, whoop, shout out.
Happy birthday.
Hey, Margot. So she kicked my butt this year. But not by much. It was very small margins. We both did horrible on our guessing. So what we opted this year was for our ballots, was what do we think is going to get chosen? So that's what we went with, what we thought was going to get chosen. And about 6 nominations in, she and I looked at each other and I said, I've won nothing. And she's like, me neither. And we both said, oh, F.
Nice.
So I wound up, out of 25 categories, I wound up with 8. My worst year ever. And then she beat me by this little margin of 12. So, that was interesting. So now what we've decided, because what was happening was, as we were realizing at some point, we both realized if we had chosen what we wanted to have won, we would have had much more on our pages. So now we're getting really into it. We're going to do 2 ballots, and we're going to do a what we want to win ballot and what we think is going to win ballot. We're going to compare with the Academy Awards and see how well we do on them, because we're like, if we had done what we wanted to win, we would have done much better with the Golden Globes. So it's going to be an interesting Academy Awards, I think. Yeah,
I'm much more interested in the Academy Awards. I will make a point to watch that probably that weekend. Maybe if we can either record at a different time or we may take the weekend off, because I will want to watch that live. But Golden Globes, whatever. Moving on to some news this week. Guess what? A lot of our news is comic book movie related.
Yes.
Because that's really all there is. Are there any other films out there?
Who cares about anything else?
Not really.
I know. And I get tired of people saying, don't you think there's too many comic book films coming out?
Hell no.
And it's so stupid to say that. I swear. It's like, to me, that's like saying, aren't there too many action films coming out? Or aren't there too many romantic comedies coming out? Right. Well, yeah, there could be too many romantic comedies coming out. But as you know what I'm trying to say, it's like, it's a genre. So really, there's probably maybe 5 or 6 movies that come out within a year. That's not too much compared to the 100 and something movies that typically come out within a year. So it's not a big deal.
Are you going to go with the Suicide Squad?
I am.
I'm just now reading that.
Oh, you didn't know this?
No.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Well, hey, Michelle. We're here to let you know.
Genuine shock on my face right now.
She's looking at our show notes and going, oh, wait, I didn't know this. Tom Hardy was originally going to be in the Suicide Squad. As we know, Suicide Squad is coming out pretty soon after Batman vs. Superman, which has already finished shooting. Suicide Squad hasn't even started shooting yet. It is directed by David Ayer. Tom Hardy was set to play, I believe, Rick Flag. And he has dropped out of the film. Sources are saying that it is due to scheduling. He's currently shooting a film for Gonzalez Iñárritu, and it also stars Leonardo DiCaprio. But yeah, he has dropped out of the film. I guess the studio was very quick to make it known that they are interested in getting Jake Gyllenhaal to take his place.
Wow.
I think there's been questions out there about will he have the time to do it? I don't know the details behind that. But I'll just say quickly that I think that's a great fit. Sure, I'm bummed to see Tom Hardy leave. I think he's an amazing actor. And even though he has already been in a DC film as another villain, I don't think it really matters. That doesn't bother me, especially because, I mean, God, you barely can tell that was Tom Hardy.
Right.
I seriously doubt you would have seen him in Suicide Squad and been like, oh, wow, it's the same guy. Yeah, no, probably not. But anyway, with that said, Jake Gyllenhaal is a fantastic actor too. And if they do actually get him to be in the film, I think that would be great. So that'll make up for it. But Bobby.
It'll be a reunion.
Yeah, it would be.
Well, you're going to ask me what I think about it?
Yeah, what did you think of it?
Yeah, it's disappointing because Tom Hardy is so good in everything he does. And he just would have brought another element that would have really made the film interesting, just seeing how everyone played off of each other, him included. So it'll obviously change the dynamic seeing Jake in there, but it's not a bad thing if you're going to go with Jake Gyllenhaal as a substitute for Tom Hardy. And hopefully this means that Tom Hardy can be in something else later on down the line, maybe something more substantial. Because the latest rumor I had read was that I guess they were saying that a lot of the actors had signed on to the film without reading the script. And then once, I guess, Tom Hardy got a chance to look at it, he saw that his role wasn't as substantial as he was hoping it would be, and that it was giving way to the character of Deadshot, played by Will Smith, and the Joker with Jared Leto.
Yeah.
So I could totally see that happening, where the script all of a sudden kind of gets catered to those guys as they kind of got cast, and then him getting pulled back. And I could see if that's the case, why he would probably be like, well, this is not really worth my effort to be in such a little bit of this film, whereas maybe there's something else out there for me that would be a little bit more substantial for me to do, and maybe I can come back to this DC world at some other point doing something else that's a little bit more meatier for me, and we'll go from there. But yeah, it's definitely disappointing on the face of it, though.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Sorry, Michelle. Sorry to break this news to you.
Yeah, I'm sad about Tom Hardy, but I mean, I like Jake Gyllenhaal too as an actor, and yeah, I think he'll be amongst other really good stars with Jared Leto and everything. So yeah, it's a good fit as far as a replacement. If he agrees to do it, I think it'd be a great fit.
Yeah, but we will see.
Yeah.
To recap, we still have Margot Robbie's going to be in the film as Harley Quinn. Was it Jai Courtney?
Jai Courtney?
As Boomerang. Jared Leto, as you just mentioned, as the Joker. Will Smith will be Deadshot. And Cara Delevingne will be Enchantress. I don't believe it's been officially announced, but it's rumored that Viola Davis will play Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
And it's been rumored that Jesse Eisenberg will reprise his role as Lex Luthor.
Ooh.
That he's also playing in Batman vs. Superman, but we don't know that for sure either. So we'll see what happens with Suicide Squad probably soon, because it's coming up before we know it. Moving on to other DC news, we talked about last week that possibly Batman versus Superman may be split into two. And it was a rumor that I think that came from, I believe it was Latino Review, that they had sources. I think it was them, but anyway, I never read the actual article that talked about it. It turned out, it looks like it turns out to be not true, at least according to an actor associated with the film, Henry Cavill, who is Superman. He was in the UK. I forget who he was speaking to, but he says indeed it will remain one film. It won't be split into two. This was at the BAFTA tea party, or the BAFTA tea, whatever they call it. So yeah, according to him, it's probably a pretty good lock that it won't be split. I mean, I think it's still a possibility that an actor may not necessarily know, just because he is a major actor in this film. There's a distinct possibility he may not know what's going on right now,
right,
with splitting it into two films. But I'd say most likely it's not going to happen.
Yeah, Superman's not going to lie to us.
Of course not. He would not. He would not lie. I think it was at the same event. He was also talking to, I think it was the Daily Mail. And there were a couple quotes. He was they were asking him what we can expect from the film. He said, quote, "It's Zack Snyder, so it's going to be a visual spectacle and it's cinematic history. We're doing Batman and we're doing Superman, and it's all happening at the same time. So fingers crossed it turns out to be as exciting as I think it is." Talking about Ben Affleck, he says, I think they asked him if he had any advice for Ben Affleck, and he was like, "We're talking about Ben Affleck here. I don't need to give him any advice. The guy's a legend. The guy does his own thing. He's great. He's fantastic." But hey, I'm going to read whatever I can about this movie because we are getting nothing. With that said, though, I don't think we've talked about it on here. That I don't think there's been any official word, but it looks like we might get some type of teaser pretty soon. I forget which film it was in front of, Bobby. Was it going to be Jupiter Ascending that it might play a teaser in front of?
That was the rumor. Yeah, that was the rumor. I think it's another Warner Brothers project, so I can see how that could happen to help maybe boost sales for that film because it hasn't had a good reputation so far. So I could definitely see them maybe wanting to put something out in front of it, but again, we'll know real soon if that's true or not.
And kind of on the subject of first looks and teasers or trailers, I think it's been more officially confirmed that a first look at Fantastic Four is going to be in front of Kingsman: The Secret Service.
Oh, really?
I forget who said that, but it looks like that will happen.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Yeah.
So that'll be cool.
Or will it be?
That's a good question. Hey, for me, I don't care about the Fantastic Four, so it'll probably be great. You've got no expectations to live up to for me. So
then it'll really be interesting to hear what you say, because if you think it's bad and you have no expectations whatsoever, then that's going to be hard times for that film.
I don't have a lot of expectations for it, and I love Marvel stuff.
Yeah. Moving on, let's move on to the TV side of things. Over at the CW, CW president Mark Padoitz, I don't know if I'm getting his name right, during his time at the Television Critics Association Winter Press Tour, he revealed that there has been talks to give The Atom its own show. We know that The Atom hasn't really appeared, but is currently in Arrow. It's being played by Brandon Roth. Would you be interested in seeing a show just about The Atom, Bobby?
Yeah, I'll watch it. I like Brandon Routh a lot.
Yeah.
Everything I see him in. So he's one of those actors I think that has earned at least a 1 or 2 episode watch just to see that it's good. And plus the nature of it's a comic book show. I'm just going to at least check it out just for that reason alone. And I do like The Atom. I remember even collecting those comics back in the day when there was the Atom and it was Ray Palmer as the Atom. So I do like the character. And I guess if Ant-Man does good, then they will be able to capitalize off that through some sort of weird synergy because of the fact that Ant-Man, it won't be on TV for Marvel, but they'll have that character in DC staple that they'll be able to just jump off of and go into the DC universe. Plus the fact that it will come from Arrow just also means that there's more corporate synergy going on to where it could cross over to Arrow and Flash and anything else that they may develop later on down the line. So that's kind of cool.
You familiar at all with The Atom, Michelle?
I'm not super familiar with The Atom, but I mean, I'd be interested to give it a go because they've got Brandon Routh in it. And I mean, while I don't think he was the best Superman that's ever played Superman, I thought he was pretty good. And
what?
He used to, yeah. I didn't really think he was bad either. I mean, but he was in a couple episodes of that show I used to love. Oh, Chuck. And he played a really good bad guy. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he's got some depth to him, and it's not bad on the eyes. And I mean, I'd give it a shot, see what happens. If it's interesting, it'll keep me. If it's not, it goes away. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Another kind of CW news, as we know, Supergirl show is coming to CBS. Also at, I believe, the TCA, it was asked whether or not this could possibly ever have any type of crossover with the CW shows. It seems like on the CW side and the DC side, they're like, well, we're kind of open to it. We'll see. But it sounds like, according to CBS, maybe not so much. It looks like that came from CBS Entertainment Chair Nina Tasler, who pretty much said, quote, that's a different network, so I think we're going to keep Supergirl to ourselves for now. So most likely don't plan on seeing Supergirl exist in the same universe as Arrow and Flash and possibly the Atom.
That doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me, though. CBS.
It surprises me, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because Greg Berlanti is running it, and he runs the other two, Arrow and Flash. And so you would think that he probably would have had it in his mindset to have those crossover in some sort of way. And I know we didn't mention it before, but there was a mention in terms of when CW had their thing, their TCA, that they mentioned that those crossovers will be an annual event that will happen towards like the November, December time period of the season. And so to me, it just seems like it would be a perfect thing for CBS to do with Supergirl, not knowing how it will perform. And if you're just going to stand it alone away from everything else, when you just saw that Arrow had its biggest ratings ever because The Flash was on it, and The Flash is the biggest show for CW. It just makes perfect sense to me that you would want to get all the help for your new show that you could get by having that as a thing that is in the back of people's mind that they're going to cross over at some point within that first season. But to already say, no, we're not going to do that. This is our own sort of thing. Well, you're going to sink or swim on your own thing. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not surprised. I guess I just kind of assumed, hey, these are on different networks. They're probably not going to intermix. Though I agree with you. I think it would definitely couldn't hurt Supergirl to draw over fans from the CW DC shows. Even though I think a lot of them are probably going to give Supergirl a chance anyway. But it can't, again, you're right, it can't hurt. And it would be cool to see it crossover, but
yeah, I mean,
I'm not shocked in the end.
Yeah, I agree with Bobby. Like, I think there should be a good synergy, and obviously the CW's open to it, and so is DC, but CBS, they don't share. They don't play well with others. It's pretty historically known. Like, they don't even let Hulu in, you know what I mean? Like, they're like, no, you can pay money on our own thing, which is what they're still trying to say they're developing, which I don't think is going to happen, but it's CBS. They just don't do well with sharing things. That's how they've always been about stuff. And yeah, so it's not surprising, but it's sad because I think it would be nice to have things cross over in between. It would bring people from the CW over to the CBS side, and people from the CBS side maybe over to the CW side. Who knows? But Blech.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that too. That not only would it help Supergirl grow, but you still have a lot of people, as well as the Flash and Arrow are doing. There's still a lot of people that, like me, I'm a DC fan, and I didn't even watch Arrow for a while because I was like, it's a CW show.
Right.
And you're going to have people that will give Supergirl a chance who have never watched those shows because they're like, well, this is on CBS. This is probably going to be pretty good.
Right.
And if they actually got a crossover, then you might actually get people like, oh, wow, maybe I should give Arrow and Flash a chance. But as we see, it looks like CW is more open to it. It's CBS that's probably not so open to it.
And that's the thing, too. And that's still, again, why I'm surprised is because even though you guys are mentioning it as CBS and CW, they're still under the same corporate megalomoth that owns all these corporations, So they're still under a certain level of corporate synergy that could happen there because of the fact that, like Les Moonves, he is in charge of, not directly in charge of, but there's some shows that he has a hand in that's on the CW, and he obviously runs the CBS. Yeah. So I'll put it this way: I won't be surprised when it actually does happen because I think it's a matter of when, not if.
Cool. Moving on to more news out of the TCA from CW. I guess it was announced that a show will be appearing on CW Seed, which I've heard about, never watched. It is their web only or web's kind of site for the CW. An animated show from DC that will exist in the Flash Arrow universe called Vixen will be on CW Seed. Sounds pretty interesting. I've been meaning to check out CW Seed and I haven't. I've seen some ads for stuff on there that look kind of interesting. But have you guys used it or watched it at all?
I've never really heard of it until I read the article.
Oh, yeah?
And no. I don't really watch a lot of like
I would think you would be like perfect with it. You don't have cable.
Yeah, but it's one of those things like I watch The Walking Dead, but I don't watch the little Walking Dead like little shows they do on the website. You know, like I don't know. it's regular TV shows for me or nothing. I guess I don't know.
It's not full broadcast. It's not worth it.
I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm.
Oh, you're a TV snob.
Apparently, I'm a TV snob. Like I'm like, oh, maybe that's a little more effort for me to go through. I don't know. I'm either snobby or lazy. I don't know.
Wow,
more effort. Horrible. You don't have cable. You go through an effort to watch everything.
Not because I have a Roku with my television. Like if I did that, I'd have to hook up my laptop to my television, and that's a whole thing. Yeah,
you could just watch it on your laptop.
I don't want to watch it on my laptop.
So do you not watch like anything like on tablets, laptops? You don't do that kind of thing at all?
No.
Really?
No interest?
No. I mean, there's a few times like I think at CBS, I'll watch back episodes of Elementary, but I'll hook the laptop up. I'll make the effort for that to hook the laptop up to the TV so I can watch it on my big screen TV. Because why would I watch it on my laptop that's this big when I can watch it on my TV that's this big?
Well, see, now, for me, you just sort of answered the question for yourself because you just said, like, you don't want to go through the extra effort of things. And to me, the laptop's already there. You don't have to connect it. So
I guess I'm a snob. I'm a snob. TV snob. Right here.
Yeah. I mean, I will watch it, like, if it's on a tablet or, if it's a big enough screen size. Or I'll watch it on my computer screen and not worry about trying to watch it on the TV. Especially if it's something that maybe doesn't have the highest quality. It's almost better to watch it on a smaller screen because it won't stand out as much as how bad the quality looks if you try and throw it on your TV. So, I don't know. If I can watch it in some sort of medium, and it's right there ready for me to watch it, then I'll just watch it with whatever's handy. If the TV's handy and it's easy enough to watch it there, then I'll do that. But if not, then I'll just watch it on my computer screen somehow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as like this show goes, this Vixen, and again, it's DC. I don't know a lot about DC characters. So from what I've read about her kind of backstory, like it hasn't really drawn me in.
I mean, yeah, I'll admit, as someone who's read more DC than Marvel, I'm not really still familiar with her. And then same thing, like reading kind of like what she is, I'm like, it's kind of interesting, but I would still watch it because it's all part of this and I'll give it a chance.
Right.
And I love the DC animated stuff that goes direct to DVD Blu-ray. That stuff's great. So if, kind of along the same lines, I'll definitely watch this and give it a chance like that. Have you heard, Bobby? I haven't heard if... since this exists in the same universe, I mean, are we going to get the same actors voicing their own characters? Like, Grant Gustin and Stephen Amell?
They haven't said, but I'm guessing that that's going to be the case because
I would think so.
Place. But here's the thing about it, the whole thing that bothers me is, first, I think I've only heard of The Seed in passing. I haven't actually watched anything on it. So that in and of itself is a problem, is that there's not enough awareness of that, the fact that they have the CW Seed. But beyond that, why is it animated? Like, I don't understand why they just wouldn't have introduced that character organically on one of those two shows as an actual live action person. Why would they sort of throw it off to animation? It just and then if it's going to be that way, then why that character at all? Like, why not someone else that maybe more people have heard of? So I don't know. It's just sort of weird. It's so weird, in just in the sense that it's crossing over. A cartoon is crossing over with a live action TV series, but probably on the live action TV series, they'll never make any mention of the cartoon character that they're crossing over with. So
Probably
it's just
not,
so weird. Like, why would they do that? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll watch it, but it's still sort of strange.
Yeah, is it like they're testing the waters, or do they think it's already not going to do that spectacularly well? Like, what's
well, that's the thing. Like, even if they're testing the waters, does that mean that with this cartoon that it's canon to those shows? So then all of a sudden, if she just pops up on one of those shows, they shouldn't have to explain who she is because there's already canon that shows who she is. So it's like, what? I don't know. It's just so strange. I don't understand why they're doing it this way. It's just so strange.
Yeah, I agree. I'll give it a chance. It seems odd. The character doesn't sound that familiar or interesting to me, but we'll see. Speaking of that, though, we got our first trailer, and I haven't actually watched it yet, but I know a trailer is now out there for Batman vs. Robin, the next animated direct-to-DVD release that comes after, what is it called, that comes out in a couple weeks? The
Atlantis?
Ah, yes, the Atlantis one.
Justice League. I think Rise of Atlantis.
So, Bobby, you'll be happy that we're getting another Batman one.
God. I mean, seriously.
It never stops.
No, it doesn't. And it bothers me to no end that it's like there's so many other good superhero characters out there. Obviously, I mean, they all have their own books and they all sell well. Obviously, Batman sells the most and he's the most out front character for them. But wouldn't you think you'd also want to nurture some of the other characters that are good? Like, there hasn't been another Green Lantern one. There hasn't been another Wonder Woman one. There hasn't been another Flash one. There hasn't even been another Superman one. And he's your other marquee. So I don't understand why we have to get another Batman one. It's like, come on. Why? We just had the other one. It was like the Damian one. The Son of the Batman one. I think that just barely came out. And then obviously we get Batman here in this Justice League Atlantis. He's like the Wolverine of DC. I mean, you see him in everything and he's always around. And it's like, can't you share the love with some other characters? I mean, Spider-Man doesn't even get that much shine in the Marvel universe as Batman gets in the DC universe. And it's just crazy. I don't know. It bugs me. It does.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I love Batman, and I'll be happy to see it. I'm sure it'll be good.
I'm sure it will be, yeah.
Was that kind of a negative Batman reaction I heard from over there?
No, I love Batman. Okay. No, like, I mean, I definitely don't have a reaction like Bobby. Like, I was like, I think it's funny, his comparison with Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
It's great.
But it's true. I mean, you know, when you look at the history of these DC animated things, they have done some other stuff, but it's a lot of Batman. And I get it. You know, like you mentioned, Bobby, it's a big seller. They're just going with, I guess, what will sell, but it's too bad because this is the big majority of what we get from DC outside of the actual comic books because we haven't got a film universe really yet. And it's just a lot of Batman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well. But yeah, you were saying this is going to be somewhat based on the what was really kind of the beginning of the New 52 run for Batman, the Court of Owls storyline, which was really fantastic.
It's a great storyline.
It's a great storyline. And I guess, I don't know how loosely it'll be based on it, but that'll be cool to see.
Yeah. And you can see a little bit of that in the trailer once you get a chance to check it out.
Yeah. I got to check that out. Yeah. That'll be cool. I still have to watch the most recent one. The Suicide Squad one. What was that called again?
Oh, that was so good. Assault on Arkham?
Yeah, I got to watch that.
I
can't believe I haven't watched that yet. Anyway, moving on. Couple quick things. We got word recently that indeed Scarlett Johansson will be in Captain America Civil War as Black Widow. I think most people kind of probably assumed it was going to happen, but we didn't know that. And now we do. So, yes, she will be in the film. I feel like there was some other comic book movie news we were going to talk about. You know,
well, just real quick on the Scarlett Johansson thing. What'll be interesting about that is, I guess, the fact that it'll almost make it sort of a miniature Avengers film because we know Robert Downey's in it. We obviously have Captain America in it. We know Scarlett's in it. We know Scarlett's in it. I think, if I remember right, Falcon is in it. And so really you're only kind of missing the Hulk and Thor and even Hawkeye. But I've even heard rumors that Hawkeye might be in it, which will be interesting too, because then I would love to see a scene between Hawkeye and Falcon, because then it'd be like a little Hurt Locker reunion.
Yeah. And what's crazy is, I mean, this movie's coming up pretty quick. I mean, when is this coming out? I'm trying to look it up really quick right now. But May 6th of 2016. It's crazy how soon that is. That's coming up fast.
There was
word this week, I think, from what's his name, who's plays Falcon, of where they're filming. I think they start filming in April.
Yeah,
a bunch of different spots around the world. I don't remember what they were off the top of my head. But production starts pretty soon, and that movie will be here before we know it. Pretty soon after Batman versus Superman, which it originally shared a date with, and Batman versus Superman moved off of it.
Yeah,
as we all know.
I was going to say there was one comic book more, or one.
Yeah, I was going to mention one. I don't know if the same one you were going to mention, that it does appear that Dread 2 is probably never ever going to happen.
Yeah,
which is a bummer.
It is.
I'm happy it's not continuing, only because it just was not good. Like,
what?
I'm sorry. Who were you?
Wait, what? This is the first I'm hearing of this.
You saw.
What is this dissension in the ranks?
You saw Dread and you didn't like it?
Oh.
We're talking about the same newer
Dread,
one, right?
Yeah. No.
Really?
No.
Oh, wow.
Are you sure you saw the right one?
God, I didn't like. I was not that amazed by it. I don't know. Nah.
Wow.
So the fact that number 2 is not happening, all good. It's okay.
Oh, I'm so surprised.
Well, Bobby, hey, you and me. I thought Dread. I was, especially because I remember Carlton was on the show back when that movie was coming out, and there was a lot of drama on this podcast about it, because that first trailer, or whatever trailers there were for it, it was just like, I remember seeing the trailer and being like, "Are you fucking kidding me? That's the Raid."
Yeah.
And I mean, the Raid was fantastic. And did I want to see a Dread version of the Raid? No. And I resisted seeing it for a long time. And then I just kept hearing all this stuff about it, of everyone being like, "Oh, wow, it's actually really good." I'm like, really? Dread? It looks like the Raid. And I finally watched it, and I was like, minus the fact that it is very similar to the kind of storyline of the Raid, I was very impressed by it. And I would love to see another one.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Especially if you read the idea that he had for it.
Yeah.
And I'm not familiar with that comic and that world, but just the idea and the thoughts he had about where to take it seemed interesting enough to me, to where it was like, man, it's disappointing we won't get to see that.
Yeah, I'm bummed, but I'm not too shocked either. It seems like it's a long time since anyone's really been talking about it. There have been efforts by fans to do petitions to get another one made. They really going to cause nothing. It's not going to happen, unfortunately. I mean, not to say there will never be another Dread film. There probably will be, and it'll probably be a reboot. By the time a new one ever happens, it's probably going to be a different actor. So,
but we will get to see a G.I. Joe 3.
Ugh.
We will. Are you a G.I. Joe fan?
Am I? Yeah, I am. I mean, from the old school cartoon.
Well, same here. I'm a huge G.I. Joe fan in that sense.
Well, but there was like a comic book too, and I never really read the comic, and I hear it was more of a grittier, not necessarily grittier, but just more of a realistic sort of look at those same type of characters, but just in a more realistic sort of way, and not so campy and cartoony like the show was. But no, I mean, I was definitely a fan of the old school 80s cartoon, and it has never really been that. But I guess these movies, there's been parts of each one that I've liked, but on a whole, they haven't been great.
Yeah.
And to know that there's another one coming around, I don't know that I have much confidence in it. Like the latest was that DJ Caruso is set to direct it, and he's a decent enough director, but I just don't know what he can bring to it to make it better if they keep straying away from the vision of the actual the property. So who knows what we'll get? I'm sure it'll just be some over the top action with a loose base storyline of some sort and not much else in between.
Right.
But I can be surprised.
I haven't seen any of these G.I. Joe films.
No,
You haven't?
Yeah, I'm missing
No,
a lot.
I
I mean,
haven't.
I used
Yeah.
to love the cartoon when I was a kid, but the first one was, and the second one was, yikes.
I love these reviews.
Yeah.
Oh, yikes. The second one had a few okay kind of ish redeeming moments, but it's, I don't, the third one, I'm not, there is zero expectations and zero high hopes there.
Yeah, I mean, being a fan of the cartoon as a kid and the toys, I remember seeing trailers for the first two and just never getting any feeling of G.I. Joe. I didn't watch them and go, oh, wow, this feels like my childhood. Like, not even close. Like, it just felt like a whole different thing that was using the same title and had some similar looking characters, you know, the villains. But that was it.
Yeah.
So I had no interest in seeing them. Apparently, a lot of people have interest in seeing 50 Shades of Grey. Are you guys shocked? Fandango has said that it is their fastest selling R-rated film ever in their history for advanced sales. It looks like we have Fandango's top 5 R-rated advanced ticketers in first week of sales. 50 Shades of Grey is now number 1. Sex and the City 2 is number 2.
Oh, God.
Then we have Hangover Part 2 at number 3, Hangover Part 3 at number 4, and then Gone Girl at number 5. I'm kind of surprised to see that on there. Mm-hmm. But apparently 50 Shades of Grey is doing very, very well in the advanced ticket arena.
That's woman power right there.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, I'm kind of surprised, but I'm kind of not surprised. But I mean,
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
well, I'm surprised that it's number one, that it's selling that well. I mean, the fact that that they're already expecting that many, that's not surprising. But that it's doing that well, that's surprising.
Yeah.
Dang.
And
It's going to have a huge weekend. Man, it's going to be huge. It probably might rival this, like the American Sniper weekend. I mean, I wouldn't have guessed American Sniper would make as much as it did, but I can see something like 50 Shades of Grey doing similar type business, which is insane to think of. But, man, like Twilight was, I guess, when it first came out. Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah.
And for an R-rated film,
right?
You have a ton of audience you're not even going to get in there, and it's going to do really well.
Yeah.
I also noticed this week, it looks like the Avatar films are delayed even more. Mm-hmm. They got pushed back another year, so I don't think we're going to see the first one until 2017. I don't know. Avatar's so funny because, I mean, that movie was so huge. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's still, like total box office ever. I don't know where it still sits, if it's number 1 or.
I think so.
But it's funny how that and Titanic, I feel like, are in the same boat where they had the same director.
Oh, there's another pun.
But
wow. See, I didn't even mean to do that. That took me a second. I'm like, what's he doing?
it's nice when it just falls in your lap that.
It just worked. Nice. Anyway, they were in the same boat in that they were, first of all, both from James Cameron. They were both huge box office successes. And then I feel like they get such a backlash, you know?
Yeah, they do.
So many people now think of Titanic as crap. And a lot of people feel like Avatar's the same way, you know? And it's taking so long to make these sequels that I feel like people are forgetting it and forgetting what the experience was actually like and why it made so much money.
Yeah.
And by the time we see another one, I feel like people are going to be like, oh, God, they made another Avatar movie?
And that's what I think is going to happen. Like, it feels like it's too late. It's way too late. And the sad part is knowing that, years ago, there were numbers of years between sequels of movies. I mean, think about the Indiana Jones movies and the Star Wars movies. Like, there were years in between. And now we're just so used to them being pumped out one right after another that I think we're used to that now. We're used to getting the satisfaction of getting it almost instantaneously, within 2 years of the first one releasing. So for it to take this long to come out nowadays, it's too late. We're too used to getting them quicker.
Yeah. I mean, the one good thing could be is that he's taking his time to make a movie that will, no matter what the initial reaction will be so good,
right,
that word of mouth will just make it be now the newest best film ever, or top grossing film ever. Hopefully that will be the case for him, in the film.
Well, I think, like you guys are saying, that there has been a lot of time, and there is that way that audiences can kind of forget. But I think a lot of it will sort of come back to them once you get that first trailer out there, and then it'll be like, oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I'm sure by that time, the way that it will look technically, it will be advanced beyond the original. And so it'll give people even more of a reason to go check it out just because it looks visually more than how the first one looks. So, yeah, I mean, I'm on the same page as you guys. Like right now, I could say, who cares? I got plenty of superhero movies to keep me busy. But once that first trailer hits, I'm sure it'll hit me again. And I'll be like, okay, I think I'm ready to revisit this world and see what James Cameron has for me.
Do you think it's going to do okay since it's going to have that whole section at Disney World now? Do you think it's going to help kind of bring it back in? Or do you think... I don't know.
For as many people that visit Walt Disney World, I still think it's somewhat limited to your super wide audience. So I don't know how much the actual land will help the films. Is that what you're asking?
Kind of. I mean, like with Harry Potter, you know, like that's... They said that after the first section of Harry Potter opened up at Universal, like... the resale of the movies and the books like jumped up again. Yeah. And then the same with the second part of the park that opened up. Again, the sales skyrocketed again. Like they had another like surgence of sales again. So I'm wondering if maybe if the park, when it opens, which I have no idea when that happens. I don't know if it happens before or after or during the movie. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But like, do you think maybe that would help a little bit? I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas.
I mean, I'm more shocked that that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to ask. I hadn't heard about that.
Oh, you didn't know about that? I mean, it's been publicly announced that Disney is, in a portion of Animal Kingdom here in Orlando. They're turning it into an Avatar land.
Yeah.
I forget, and they announced this a long time ago.
They've been working on it for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know when it's set to open. And it's kind of crazy to me. I think, it felt like, I don't want to get too much into it, but I think it felt like a kind of reaction to Harry Potter. Yeah. Because here in Orlando, Harry Potter opened at Universal, and that's just been huge for Universal. And, it felt like, we want our own major land that's associated with a major film. And of course, again, this is the top grossing film of all time. And why not that? And I'm sure it'll be a cool land, but it seems like an odd pick, for Disney too. Like,
exactly.
I was shocked when they said that that's the one that they were picking to do it. A, and then B, like it just doesn't seem like something that's going to stand the test of time.
No, yeah.
Like, I'm not saying Potter's going to make it 50 years from now, but I could be wrong because Potter's but it just doesn't sound like it's not going to do well. And historically.
I mean, just like we've already said about the first film. I mean, you think back to the first film, and if that's all that existed now, and there wasn't going to be sequels, like I would say, generally speaking, most people do not look back at Avatar 1 as like a great movie. Yeah. But most of the things I hear about it are negative. Yeah. Even though, again, it made a ton of money.
I just had an epiphany, and it just hit me, like literally. You know what they should have did is, since they already own Marvel, they could have completely did a Savage Land. And to me, that could have been easily, I don't know who owns the rights to that property. Like, it's not necessarily a property, but the concept of the Savage Land, because the Savage Land has its own hero, Kazar or something like that, and he's kind of like Tarzan basically. But the X-Men typically go to Savage Land, like Wolverine, but some of the other superheroes have gone there as well, and you can make a whole sort of story out of it, and because there's dinosaurs on Savage Land and all kinds of other crazy stuff, and it would make more sense because it's still using a property that you could have complete control over with any of the characters and be able to use them for that. And you could even, assuming if the property was right, incorporate it into some sort of film to where it would make sense and people would know why the Savage Land is what it is. And I don't know, it just seems like it would have made more sense to use a Marvel property as opposed to James Cameron.
I think the problem you run into, at least here in Orlando, is that you run into the problem that before Disney bought Marvel, they already had an agreement with Universal. So here at Universal, at Islands of Adventure, they have a Marvel land. Oh. And but because of that, I don't think Disney can build anything Marvel related, like on the East Coast or east of whatever, the Mississippi or something like that. So yeah, you guys out there in California, Disneyland, you go to Disneyland and you actually have like Thor and like, it looks like everything from the MCU. We can't do that here at Disney World.
Yeah.
So,
oh wow.
Yeah, because they have the characters there at Universal. Like, there's all this infringement. I mean, like, I still don't even know how Disney did this. Like, I still don't even. I'm amazed that Universal still has Marvel Island even there.
I mean, I think
it's
it comes down to that. I think it was a contract that was done before Disney bought Marvel, and Disney's still recognizing it. And I don't. I'm not going to pretend to know anything about the logistics behind that. But
no.
I think that's what it. Because I'm sure. I mean, if that didn't exist.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
They would have probably broken ground in a Marvel park a while ago.
Years ago.
I would at least think, I mean, so I'm sure there's people still sitting there shaking their heads going, dear God, can we make that contract go away?
Yeah, I wonder if it's like in perpetuity that Universal has those characters, or is it like maybe they want to give them enough time to try and develop something else, so they gave them like 20 years or something. I don't know. It's interesting.
I guess it just depends on how smart Universal was when they decided to do that. I don't know.
I mean, because like building, a major land in a theme park is not the kind of thing you think, I'm going to change this in a few years. I'm sure they did it for the long haul. So
I would say they probably have it down for a good forever. 40, 50 years. At least. I mean, like, it's going to, Anyways, moving along. New topics.
It's, comic book related or movie related, but yeah, it's a bummer. But yeah, with that,
wait. There's like one other thing that I kind of want to mention at least. So, we were talking about the TCA, and a lot of the networks all had their turn and talking about what they have on their roster and what they have maybe coming up. And Fox had their turn, and they mentioned that they were going to be bringing back a few old shows, or at least possibly doing it. And the three that they mentioned was X-Files, 24, and Prison Break. Did you watch, at least, I know you watched X-Files, but did you watch Prison Break or 24, David?
I sadly watched neither. I mean, I've heard tons of great things about 24, and it's a show I never picked up. And same with Prison Break, I never saw that either. You, Michelle?
Okay.
Yeah, I heard amazing things about 24, but I never picked it up. Yeah. And then I heard Prison Break was okay, and I never got into that one either. I mean, I watched X-Files when I was a lot younger, and the sad part is, like, I'm sure a lot of it went right over my head due to my age. And it's actually kind of one of those weird shows that every now and then I think I'm like, I should watch that series over again now as I'm an adult.
Yeah.
But because there's so much modern stuff that is out, like I just haven't done it yet. But yeah. Yeah.
You excited, Bobby?
Well, did you watch X-Files? Because
I watched X-Files. Yeah.
So you know what? I'll be cautiously optimistic because it's so strange to revisit X-Files this far along. If we're just specifically talking about the one that we've sort of all seen, it's so crazy. But if they have really able to get David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson back for it, I'll definitely be in to check it out. If it's sort of a new cast or a reboot, I don't know that I would need that. I mean, there's been enough of those types of shows now that I don't know what they could offer to be different, because a lot of those themes have been done so much that it's like kind of what's left. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel specifically if they try to redo it without those two characters.
Yeah. One other thing I noticed that came out of TCA was, Ryan Murphy. He's behind Glee. He's behind American Horror Story. I thought it was interesting that he's coming out with another horror show.
Really?
Back on Fox. But I guess it's a horror comedy.
Is that the Scream Girls one?
Yeah, Scream Queens.
Scream Queens, yeah.
Which will have, so Lea Michele will stick around with Ryan Murphy, and she'll be in the show. Abigail Breslin, Keke Palmer. I guess Jamie Lee Curtis will appear in the show.
That's awesome.
I thought it was also interesting, though, that Ariana Grande will have a guest star recurring role.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, the Jamie Lee Curtis thing's cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
And Joe, how do you say his last name? Manganiello? From True Blood. The guy Joe from True Blood and Magic Mike.
Nice.
Anyway, he'll be in the show, too. I don't know. I just thought that was funny that he's doing another horror show. I don't know. It sounds like a horror anthology show. So.
Yeah, I can understand.
Cool. Yeah.
I'd check it out.
Oh yeah, it sounds interesting. I mean, I don't know details behind it, but I'll check it out because I love horror. But
I meant to ask you: Are you still watching Star Wars Rebels?
Yeah, I haven't watched the whole show. But I've watched a lot of episodes of it.
Okay, so you did hear the news that they're going to have Lando Calrissian on?
Yeah, I did hear that. Lando's.
I thought that was pretty cool because I like the fact that the show doesn't shy away from the fact that there's characters that we know and to see where they are at that period of time. And I haven't been as caught up on it as probably even as much as you are, but I probably will at least check that one out just to see how that goes down because. I mean, it's Lando. You know, when's the last time you've seen him in anything?
What I've been excited about is how excited my son is about that show.
Really?
I mean, he's not even 3 yet. He's almost there. And I mean, he's always talking about Chopper. The droid from it. Whenever you see it or something, a Chopper and I want to watch Star Wars Rebels. And I'm like, hell yeah, we'll watch Star Wars Rebels. Watch that over all this stuff on Disney Junior. I'll watch Star Wars Rebels any day of the week. So yeah, I think my wife gets a kick out of the fact that I like watching it probably as much or more than he does. But whatever. I don't care.
Oh, and before we jump out of here, there was that last little bit of news. I didn't know what you thought about it, but there was Michael Keaton news. 2 things for Michael Keaton in the news. One, that the script for Beetlejuice 2 had been written, and it was like written specifically for him. Were you a fan of Beetlejuice?
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You never know.
I mean, I love Beetlejuice. Oh, well,
yeah.
I mean, that definitely, first of all, I was just a huge Tim Burton fan in general. From that fantastic era of Tim Burton. So yeah, Beetlejuice is right there at the center of that. And I love Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
And they were saying it'll take place like in present day. So I think it'll be great because from the different interviews I've read, Keaton's always been down to do it, and Burton has too. So now if a script's been written for him, it seems like it's just a matter of time we'll finally get it, especially now with all the renewed popularity Keaton has. So I'm really looking forward to that. And the other one was the fact that there's this movie coming out called The Founder. Have you heard of it?
No, that I haven't heard of.
Okay, so The Founder is basically the story of, I don't know how you say his last name specifically, but Ray Koch, the guy who owns McDonald's.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And so it's that story of how he ends up getting that restaurant from the 2 brothers, I guess, that initially, the McDonald's brothers that had the initial idea for it. And it's been described as supposedly There Will Be Blood meets something else that was sort of like this combo that you're like, okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
And to see Keaton playing the guy, that Ray guy, I think it'll be interesting because, I mean, who doesn't know McDonald's? And it's got worldwide appeal, and it's one of those things that's kind of like a biopic. And if it has that sort of underlayings of this guy is kind of nefarious and a little bit sinister, it'll be a good role for Keaton to be able to play that type of a character too.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I do remember seeing something about it, and I didn't really read it. But yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
But Beetlejuice 2, definitely excited about that. I mean, there's been talk about that for a long time now, and it seems like it's slow to happen. But hopefully it's getting quite there. Real quick before we go, next weekend, new releases. Are you guys excited? The Boy Next Door, Mordecai, and Strange Magic. It's going to be a big weekend at the box office, guys.
I think I'll be catching up on some Netflix movies.
Yeah, I'll be catching up on some Oscar films that I haven't seen yet. Imitation Game, Foxcatcher, if I can. Even maybe I'll even go see Black Hat anyway. Even I probably won't. For the most part, I'll be skipping next weekend's big releases.
Oh yeah.
The weekend after, though, I'm really interested in Project Almanac. I've been hearing good things about it, and I hope it's as good as I think it might be.
Time travel, I always like it.
Exactly. With that, it is time to get out of here. As usual, we'd like to know what everyone listening has thought of the podcast, everything we've talked about today. You can let us know by emailing us at feedback@flickereffect.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and on YouTube. Maybe this episode on YouTube as well. We'll see. You can find links to those accounts on our website over on the right-hand side. So I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
Not Michelle Curry.
Thanks for listening.